All right. Hey, Devin, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, that's cool. Oh, let me turn this off 1 second. Hey, Devin, can you hear me? Got the phone going. I got monitors and laptops and everything going on over here. Okay.
Hey, man, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, dude. It's so
Happy
good
New
to
Year.
Happy New Year. Virtually be chilling with you, boss.
Heck yeah, this is awesome. This is like I've been kind of bored of the last couple of days. You're like, yeah, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah.
Hell yeah. Been
I
bored
get
out
to
of my
hang out with
mind,
someone.
boss. All right. Well, I'm glad I could help with the boredom.
Well,
All
it's
right.
been so rainy here. We haven't been able to ride, and so
Gotcha.
you can't surf, you can't ride. There's no work, so I love my kids and all.
Yeah. All right. Hey, folks, let me get this thing going over here. I'm trying some new software, so bear with me. I'm going to go and click on this button right now, and hopefully we should see Devin on the screen right now. Okay, so, and if I'm going the wrong way, I'm getting out of screen. Got to figure this out. All right. All right, my friends. My name's Gene Arnold from Regular Guy Mountain Biking. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Tonight's live stream is all about installing an Archer Components D1X electric shifter on the mountain bike I have over here. But more importantly, it's also about the introduction to their new. I'm going to show you close-ups of all this. I've got another camera here, so don't worry, you'll be able to see everything. But their new paddle remote, which is pretty sick. So I'm going to go into all details about everything. Before I do want to introduce to you all my friend Devin. So Devin, go ahead, say hello about how bored you are where you live.
Hey, folks. Yeah, no, stoked to be here. It's been rainy and cold and can't ride in California right now because everything, I don't know if you can hear it, but we're outside and it's just pissing down rain right now, which is great. We need it, but you know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
a little stir crazy. But yeah, so Gene said, hey, we're going to do an install. I said, let's talk about it, man. I just got the new, the prototype that Gene's going to show you. It's old business at this point, man. I got
Tells you how important I am in the world of Archer Components. They're like, hey, we got this old one we're going to throw in the garbage. Ship it to Gene.
No, we got this. We got this today. We got the latest rev of these things today, and we're working with some folks over in Fresno.
Gotcha.
And it's so rad because they can print these things, they can spray them with the Cerakote and ship them over to us in a day.
Nice.
And we're able to just keep moving on this thing and push it forward. Yeah.
So, so here's what I'm going to do. So if you see me walk away from you folks or not pay attention to you, I'm answering things on the phone over here. What's going on, Mr. Steve? We got, who do we got on the call so far right now? We got Dad's on Dirt. What's up, boss? Jason Carter. What's going on, my friend? Mr. Steve's online. And we got a bunch of other people just hanging out and chilling. So I am going to take Devin with the cute hat off the screen now for a minute over here. Okay.
Hey, my mom knit this. Look at this. She didn't put the patch on there.
Oh, I got to get some new merch. You better give me your mom's, Etsy account or something like that. All right. Let me go and see if I do this right now. Did I screw this up? No, I did not. Okay. So, like I said a moment ago, I want to show you what we're actually doing here. So I got this other camera over here. And we'll kind of break things down. I think, am I doing this right? Is this one right here? Yeah, this should be the one right here, right? Yeah. Okay, I think so, right? We got that one over there. And yeah, it's got to be working. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's what we're doing, folks. Archer Components, they make this this electric shifter kit. Okay, put it in the screen over here. This is the actual shifter module. You'll see how the whole thing works when I install it. And up to date, this is the remote. Okay, so this actually moves the derailleur. This is the remote that tells this little bugger what to do. Okay, and clearly it's wireless. Now, I've done multiple videos on this before. I'm using it on the pumpkin bike. I'll try to put links later on. You've already watched the pumpkin bike build. So currently, I have a electric shifter by Archer on that bike. But the reason why we're doing a new install is because of this. This is their new paddle shifter. Okay, actually, it's going to go. It's going to go. No, it's going to go just like that. Okay, so the idea is rather than using the buttons, which honestly has worked fine, but there's an adjustment to get used to. Right, you don't shift with buttons, or at least traditionally you're not used to that. Okay, it has worked. It still does work, but this is what we're all used to, right? This is what we're used to, folks. We're used to a paddle, right? You know, click up, click down. This is what we're all used to. And Archer, well, they did. There you go. They did it. They made one. All right. So we're going to be installing everything, but the big dealio is this guy. What is the difference? Why is this so cool? Well, at the end of the day, you still are just pushing buttons. Okay, so here's a button up or down depending on how you set it up. Well, technically, there's two buttons in here, and it's a cradle rock, and it's going to back and forth. So what is the difference? Why do this? Well, the big reason is the feel. Again, we're used to a paddle shifter. Okay, so this is going to be very, very familiar to your hands. Other big things would be that the other one I showed you a moment ago with the buttons on it, that one you had to put a battery in it. In fact, it actually comes with a, you know, a little battery like this. It's like it's not a AAA, but it's a AAA sized battery, and it's a rechargeable sucker. And you put that in there, and you have these little bitty screws. I'm not going to pick on you a little bit, Archer. All right, Devin?
Yeah.
But you got these little ass screws you're going to have to take out in the middle of the trail in the cold, and you're going to be sitting there going, Archer, you son. I've never, ever had it go dead. But, right, I mean, it's just, what are you going to say? But now.
Those screws suck, is what you're going to say, man. That's cool. I've lived with those screws for years.
It's a tough one. But look what they did. And I actually had a dude, right? I told you I was going to talk about this. A dude was messaging me on Facebook today about this. They're like, when are they going to come up with a charging port? And I'm like, bing! There you go. So this is a USB. Is this mini? Is this a mini USB, Devin?
It's micro USB.
Micro. I always get them mixed. Thank you, micro.
Yeah.
So it's got a micro USB. Okay. So don't ask if it's USB-C. It's a micro USB. That's what it's got, and this will charge this thing up. So Devin, I do have you online. Can you give us an estimations on how long this thing is going to charge? I mean, just we're not holding your feet to the fire, but it's going to come up, dude.
It's about a 35 to 45 minute charge from dead. Mm-hmm. The total ride time is about 25 to 30 hours, so very similar to what we were seeing on the previous. There's a couple other pretty important differences between these two technologies. Obviously we're just using Bluetooth, so it's all the same. But one thing that really is cool about the new paddle remote is that it's completely sealed. Mm-hmm. So, you don't have any doors that you can take off. There's no water ingress points. And that click feel that you get when you click that thing, that's actually a dummy switch. The way that we are tripping the shifts and actually sending the shift signals, there's little magnets embedded in here. And so it's a Hall effect sensor. As that magnet passes over the Hall effect sensor, you get the click and you get the shift at the same time. So there's a whole bunch of embedded springs in there to give you that nice strong feedback and then the tactile click. But it really is just a fully sealed enclosure with a magnet passing over the outside to get you the shift. So for water ingress, I mean, you can't beat fully sealing the thing.
No, that's awesome. I've got mine says build 22. I don't know if that means anything to you or not, but but it feels really. If you got build 160, then again, I'm really like the loser in your.
That was version 22 of build 18.
Okay.
This is mass 20 version 46. I mean, it's crazy. It's taken us a long time to get getting that feel of the click and having the timing be exactly right. I mean, that's it. And then having all of the surfaces right, having all of the strength analysis right. We're still trying to use the matchmaker as your clamping mechanism, but then not having an external, on the old remote, there was an aluminum boss that was blind screwed in the back, and they're expensive and they're hard to make. And so what we've really embraced on this whole thing is 3D printed. What you've got in your hand is 3D printed nylon using the MJF process. And then we do what's called a Cerakote over the outside of it. So you get this scratch resistance, UV resistant, high impact nylon, but we're able to do really, really cool surfaces and thicknesses, and we don't have to deal with the kind of the tricky parts about injection molding.
Gotcha.
So it allows us to go faster. It allows us to get to market sooner. And, you know, for a small company, being able to do things cheaper is just, I mean, it's everything, right?
All right. Well, so the other reason why I'm bringing this up, folks, is that when you see the close-ups like you have seen, please understand that this is clearly pretty far away from production. So let me do this. I told you what we're doing. I'm going to start the install, bring the camera over. Maybe, you know, Devin, if you want to talk about any of this stuff along the way, because right now I'm taking off the handlebar grips, so it's not really all that interesting. All right, so if there's anything you want to bring up, but I will, let me explain what I'm going to do first, basically. I'm going to go and take off the grips, okay, and I'm going to install this little guy onto the bars right now. So I'm going to give you a close-up on that, just so you can see what's going on, all right, and I'm getting rid of Devin. Bye, Devin. All right, so he's still there, you just can't see him.
Oh, I might cough into the microphone occasionally. I'm trying to clear this cold. It's been a Christmas gift for my toddler.
Hey, thanks, little kid.
Thanks, guy.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to do this right now. And Devin, why don't you give us a little bit of the history of where this whole thing came from, the idea.
Yeah.
And here's also a really important one, folks. You're probably all wondering, what's the difference between this and the AXS, right? The SRAM deal. So why don't you do a little bit of sales pitch over here while I take these grips off and get ready to get going.
You got it. So, you know, when we started out with this project and we built that first remote with the two big push button switches, it was really like an MVP, right? A minimum viable product. It was, how can we get this to market as soon as we can, given that we know that we want to go and do a paddle at some point, and we wanted to do something for drop bars, and we wanted to do this, that, and the other. But at the beginning, we really had to just think, okay, how can we make something that's toolable? How can we get something to market quick so that we can start to capture this wave of electronic shifting that was really starting with DI2 and then ETAP and then Axis. So, you know, about 2.5 years ago, we developed a paddle that used some of the existing electronics that we had, but we just put it into the new form factor. And we put it on a bike basically the night before Sea Otter. And we're sitting there thinking to ourselves, oh my God, this thing shifts so much cleaner and nicer and better, but this is just a hacked prototype. We can't show this to anybody at Sea Otter, right? You can't just take that and say, hey, this is what we want to do someday. So we had to put it on the shelf, and we had to kind of just sit on it for a little bit. We had some personnel changes. We had, you know, a bunch of other challenges as a small business. And then eventually we came back to it and we said, look, you know, we keep working with this same remote. It works pretty well, but it's not great for everybody. Let's put some resources behind building the paddle, and let's make this thing right. So that was about a year ago. We jumped into it, started out trying to basically use a similar approach to what SRAM does, which is pressing buttons through a membrane. And every time we tried to engineer something that would press a button through a membrane, either the feel was all off or there was water ingress. And so in both of those cases, we're like, this is a total failure. So we had to take that, throw it away, and start with some new ideas. And one of the ideas that we landed on was the Hall effect sensor. Once we embraced that and did some testing on it and found that we could make it work right, it was just all in. So we hit the gas. Throughout the summer, we were building this thing, trying to prototype it in-house, testing it as best we could. Eventually, in the fall, it really started to coalesce. We got some great rides on it. We got some great feedback from some folks. And now we're at a point where we are starting to send it out. We're starting to put it out into the world. It's not ready for production yet, but we are anticipating that in the early spring, late winter, March, give or take a few, that this is going to be out there in the world. You know, there's a Sea Otter coming up in April. So we're hoping that this is going to be out at about ready to go before that sea otter in April.
That's awesome, man. So
Yeah.
what am I doing right now? Just so you know, Devin, the bolt that you sent me, it's not long enough. I remember doing a test before, and it wasn't quite long enough. So I've got one over here. It's just because of the way the thing's set up right now. It's no big deal. So
I'm curious about this though. What the bolt that I sent was a 22 millimeter, right?
Yeah, it's just that it doesn't seem to be long enough to reach down with the way the plastic is right this second. I've got so much stuff here. It's not a big deal, but I'm just grabbing one right now to make it work. That's all.
The previous bolts that we shipped with were an M5 by 20 millimeter. And it was like that short 2 millimeter that we couldn't really span and have enough plastic around the mount to keep it stable.
Gotcha.
So we increased that by 2, and I thought I sent you an M22 on there.
Well, I got them, so it's not really a big deal. So let me just tell you, folks, what's going on here, real quick. Not a big deal, just so you know what's going on. Okay, so this is the standard, like you know, the type of mount you use to mount anything on the bars. Okay, and the bolt's just not reaching through to the paddle shifter. This is not something you're going to be dealing with when you eventually get yours when it comes out. So don't go sweat it or anything. But I'm just you know, doing what I got to do right now.
Wait, Gene, it was a bad idea to do a live stream prototype install?
No.
No, God, no. What are you kidding me?
Good times.
Yeah, so we'll get it going over here. It's not
I think just based on what you showed on camera there, it did look like that's the 20 instead of the 22. So I apologize for that.
No, it's not a big deal. If I don't have it, we're just going to move on. I'm pretty sure I got one, but I want to get to the because we can still make everything work. You know what I'm saying, boss? Yeah.
So you were talking about differences between Axis and us. So if you look at just the form factor of the remote itself, we're about 40% of the size of an Axis remote. The Axis controller is pretty big and beefy. We really slimmed this thing down. It's to its bare minimum. So it is a very, very small, tiny little component. In terms of configurability, Axis is great in what they do, but they only do 12 speeds. And our system obviously is a lot more flexible. It's fully programmable to any number of gears.
Yep.
So Axis, you wouldn't be able to put that on your bike that you've got a 2x drivetrain on right now.
Right. Or I wouldn't be able to use it on this bike right now because what I'm putting it on is with my box. I'm a big fan of box, which is a 1x9. Okay, nice. I'm going to move past the shifter over here. The remote. I'll find a bolt. You'll still see how everything works. But let's get to the meat of the whole deal over here. So what did I do first? I took the current shifter out. Okay. Now, again, you know, Devin, close your ears here for a minute. If you've got internally routed cables, I'll be honest, before I would pull those cables out of your bike, I would do the install and just make sure everything's working okay. Because
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that's a very wise one. No one wants to reroute internally routed cable. Come on, Gene. No, we're not masochists here.
No, it's just not fun. So what am I doing right now? I'm going to move the camera over to the back of the bike, and you'll see exactly what's going on. Because this one's going to be a little bit, well, you'll find out in just a second over here. Let me get this thing set up over here. Okay, so what we're doing is we are going to be moving the derailleur with this guy right here. This is going to be put in here. So I did do a couple things before the video for a little bit of testing. I put this cable inside of the unit. When you get it, this cable won't be in there. The reason why I did it is because this little rubber thing on over here sometimes can be a real pain in the ass to put on. I put a little bit of lube on there to make it slide in there a little bit better. And
did you use lube or did you use alcohol?
No, I didn't use alcohol.
Alcohol's the way to go.
Well, there we go. That's why I got the owner of the company on the line.
I
over
mean,
here.
Gene, you got to read the manual, man. Come on.
I know. So if you used alcohol, it'll slide in a little better. So I just set this up ahead of time. I also put these little. You'll see what these locks are for in just a moment. So I got that ready. The other thing I did too, since it was going to be hard to show you anyway, is I did go into the phone and go through the setup. I will explain how everything works so you know everything, but I did set it up a little bit ahead of time just to make sure all the shifting was basically working and that everything was recognized. So I just did a little bit of checking ahead of time. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to go and kind of cut these off and move the existing housing out of the way. This one, Devin, is a little bit challenging, this bike, and I'm going to show you why right now.
Oh, do you have some bosses down there?
I have some bosses down here. It's
Oh,
exactly
the bosses.
Yeah.
The dreaded bosses.
Yeah. So, folks, here's what he's talking about. If you can see them. See, can you get that in the yeah, okay, yeah. Right here are cable bosses. Now, the reason why that's a little bit of a bugger is because traditionally what you do with the shifting unit is you put it right here. Okay? I think we still will, but the bosses are keeping it from laying flat. If you watch the pumpkin bike, you'll see it go right up on the bottom, and it's fine. Now, it doesn't mean you have to put it here. I could technically put it here if I want, but the things you have to think about when you're trying to mount this would be this. Number one, if you mount it too far in, you're not going to be able to take the rear tire off the bike because it's going to hit it. Yeah. Okay? If you mount it too far up or out, when you pedal, there's a good chance the back of your shoe is going to hit it. I'm just telling you how it is. The last thing they want you to do is set the whole thing up and then go on a trail and kick it and get all pissed off. This is right. I mean, that's.
Hey, man, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Now, I would not put it on top because then you've got chain slap and they're going to beat the hell out of it. And the other thing you got to look out for is the chain line. Okay. Again, why am I even talking about this so much? Because of these brake bosses. Normally, you would want to put it there anyway. I will ask the question that comes up the most. Is it going to crack? Is it in a bad spot? Look, I've beaten the heck out of my bikes. If you think about where you're at here, it's actually less vulnerable than you think to actually get a rock right there to smash it. Is it impossible? No. Look, you can hit any part of your bike. It's really not that vulnerable, and this is also not built like cheap. It's if you get one, and if you do, I've got a RGMTB is an affiliate code. You'll save 11%. That's 1% more than anybody else that Devin gave the code out to. All right? RGMTB, use the code. You save 11% on your purchase. But if you get one, you'll feel it and you go, okay, this isn't a piece of crap. This is a legitimate piece of kit over here. So what we're doing now is this. The kit comes with a small piece of cable housing. All right? That's going to go in here. And I think we're going to have to use a little bit more. So this is something to also take a note, folks. Okay, this particular piece of housing is not going to be long enough to do it on my bike, okay? Because I need to bring this thing down here, and that's going to be it's kind of a big bend there, you know. So I've got housing. It's not a big deal, and in fact, I'm just going to probably just use some of the housing I have over here or whatever, but. You know, just so you know how you're setting everything up and what's going on. In fact, let me go and grab some of the housing, and we'll go with that. Okay, so let me go and grab some housing.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, just to say, like, one of the reasons why all of these things are so short, you know, the shift cable and the housing, we intend it to be as close back to that cassette as possible, but there are so many bike geometries, and there are so many different derailleur geometries that we've got our best guess. The good thing about the whole situation is that everything is standard. So that's a standard shift cable and standard Bosun housing. So if you do need to replace it, we're not your only source for shift cables or housing or whatever. It's not some proprietary thing.
Exactly. No, it's true. All right, let's open this thing up. We'll get some housing because the little thing slid all the way in on me. Okay, come on. Where'd you go? Where'd the end go? Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. So we've got some housing now. So let's go and mount this little guy where I think it's going to go. We can get a guess on how long the housing has to be, and we'll go from there. So how does this thing mount on? There are these little clamps right here, here, and here. Okay, these would not be on. They come in a small plastic bag. I put them on. These straps go around and go and connect everything together. Let me just show you, rather than keep talking. All right, if you take a look at this, there's a little indentation right here. There's a little nibby right here. If you push this in, okay, it's going to lock right inside the whole thing. All right, so let me go and get this thing in here correctly. All right, I want to put this in like this. And there we go. I'm going to lock it in. Okay, and that's going to go out, around, and in like that. See how it comes out of the bottom? That's how that's going to work. So let's go and get this all put in.
And so we find this to be, the cleanest way of installing this thing. It's also sized so that if you needed to, you could throw a zip tie in there.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same width. So, we're not your only source for everything. We want you to be flexible as much as possible.
It'll work fine, yeah. And I'll also show you something in a minute where this is important, but not maybe as important as you think. And also, I just already did it wrong, so I'm going to show you real quick. This little nib, it actually goes into the back. You'll see it locks in nicely. See how it's all nice and smooth? They made it all purdy. Okay, so I'll push this one in here like this. Okay, so there we go. Now it's going to go around and it's this part right here. Okay, so let's go and bring this around. All right, like that. And I'm going to go and do these little buggers up, and hopefully I don't look like a knucklehead on the camera. Well, any more than I normally look like a knucklehead on the camera. All right,
it's an endearing knucklehead look. Gene.
Is it? I do try to.
An endearing knuckleheadness.
I try to pull it off the best I can, my friend. All right. Oh, my back! I'm getting so old, but I can't keep doing this shit. All right, here we go. All right. So I'm tightening these little things on the other side. Obviously, this would be a hell of a lot easier if you weren't trying to do this on YouTube with a live stream and you could turn the bike around and everything. But when my buddy Devin wants to show off his new toys, I'm here for him. All right, so that goes like that. Okay, and I'm not going to go bananas, and I'll explain why in just a minute. All right, let me pull this one down. Okay, hopefully you can still hear me. I got the...
You're good, man.
Okay, I got the lapel mic over here. I just realized it's halfway up my nose almost. Okay, so there we go. All right, so there we go. Whew, I got to start stretching more.
Okay, well, if the camera was a little lower, we could have seen some plumber's crack too. But, Gene, you're leaving us high and dry here, man.
Maybe that's how I'll start getting like the super chats. Oh, let's see Gene's ass. All right. What did I do? I strapped this thing on here, okay? When I can move the bike around, I'll probably make it a little bit tighter, but you got the general gist of it. Why did I say it's not as important as you might think? This guy is going to go into here, but technically, the cable housing is keeping the distance and the cable taut between the two. So the cable, I could have this thing floating around in my hand and it would still shift because the cable housing is keeping the shifter and the derailleur at that distance, and then the cable is sliding through. So yeah, it's important. You need to have it on or it'd be bouncing around the trail. But this is not what's being super tight to make sure it shifts correctly. It just needs to be tight so that the cable, everything is touching nicely, so you have no slop, because that would screw up your shifting. But that was my point. Okay, it just needs to be good. So let me go and finish this part up. So you're gonna need some proper
that trips a lot of folks up. They're like, "Well, what if it moves?" And you're like, "It's cool. It can move. It's not a big deal." Yeah, as long as you've got that housing bedded in and all snug, you're not going to have any kind of oddball lack of precision. All that precision is just maintained in the Bowden housing, like you said.
Yep. right. Did you say Bodenhousing?
Bodenhousing, yeah.
Is that what you? I mean, I heard a Bowden tube. That's what I called it on my 3D printer, but I didn't know it was called Bodenhousing on the bike too.
Yeah, any kind of rigid tube where you're going to pass a flexible member through that is typically considered Bodenhousing.
Wow.
I mean, I am not an engineer, but I've been told that that's the case.
I'm getting so much smarter. I'm getting smarter just being on this call with Devin. Just by being on the call, I'm getting smarter. Is there anything? Should I be replying to any chats over here? Is anyone making fun of me online? Let me see what's going on over here.
I think there was some plumber's crack.
There's probably was some plumber because of you, man. Oh, God damn it. Okay. No, Ito, to your point, why am I not wearing a super cool regular guy mountain biking jersey, which I have right over there? Because I didn't want to get dirty with the grease. This is actually a shirt that I've got skank on, and I didn't want to get my nice jerseys dirty. So thank you, Ito, for bringing it up. Ito is actually one of my biggest fans to help promote the channel. He's always saying cool stuff. And he is the best dressed guy in all of our rides. But we do have jerseys, and they look pretty cool. And yeah, I'm big plug for me. I'm selling them. But that's why I'm not wearing it right now, Ito, because I didn't want to make it look like crap. Okay? But I'll take it out, and I'll show it to you before. So thank you. And any other ones? Yeah, plumber crack, anything like that? Okay, no, we got some good stuff. All right, thank you. So what am I doing now? I'm just putting the end caps on here. Okay? To make it easier, I put the end cap on just one side and slide this cable through. And now I'll put the end cap on the other one. You don't have to do it that way, but I've done it enough where I try to nicely, just so you can see the end of the cable they give you does have a bit of solder on it so that it doesn't fray, which is awful sweet of the guys over at Archer as well, but that's going to go in here. Okay, and we are going to run with this as a preliminary setup. Yes, I do agree that this is a little bit high. Actually, can you see the whole thing? Yeah, you can see that. So I'll probably trim it and make it look nice. But let me show you everything working. Okay, so what I have to do right now is set up and lock the cable into the derailleur. The best way to do that first is make sure that this thing is in the highest gear. Remember, high is speed, not high on the cassette. So the big gear is technically your lowest gear, and the smallest one is technically your highest gear. Okay, I know it sounds confusing, but I didn't make the rules. That's what it is. Okay, so what am I doing here? I am going to click the little power button right here. Okay, hold that for a second. My fingernail, there we go. Sorry, didn't have my nail near it. Oh, come on, get in there. There we go. Okay, that's green. It's on.
I love that sound.
Yes, it's a good sound. It's blinking right now. So it's blinking for two reasons. Because it's either not paired to a phone or it's not paired. Well, actually, it's blinking for one reason, because it's not paired to something. It could be paired to a phone, which is what we're going to do, or paired to a paddle, right, of some type, a shifter or a remote of some type.
Well, so that first light that you see is the battery, right? So that's always a good thing to just, when you turn it on, you click the button, the first light you see is the battery level. Usually it's green, and green means go for the ride. If you click the button and it's red, solid, then you probably should charge after that ride. And if you turn it on and it's red flashing, then that's an indication you should probably charge before you go for the ride. Cool. So we try and make it as easy as possible. You don't have to open up your phone to see what the battery level is. You just click the thing. And the same thing was with the remote. When the remote is on, green means batteries are good. If it's red when you turn it on, you should probably charge it.
Good call. Good call. Can you guys see this? I'm not sure how you can see but on top, you're seeing the shifter. Okay, so that's what it is. I'm going to click on that in a second. When I had the pumpkin bike on, there were two here. Okay, so now when I click on it, it takes me into the control center over here. And this is where you can do a new configuration or update an existing one. We're going to go to update. I'm not going to get into too many more details about how this whole thing works because A, I have a video on it already, and B, Archer has a video covering everything as well, okay? But bottom line is what I'm doing is I'm going into the update configuration because in here, I can shift things around. Okay, so I'm gonna hear that. I'm shifting this little guy. So if I pull this cable right now, I'm gonna bring it down. Okay, so can you guys see the little red on there? Oh, actually,
Yeah.
Devin, can you? Okay, so watch. When
Yeah,
I click
that looks
this
good.
button-
It looks great, man.
When I click this button to go up, it just pulled it in. It just pulled it in. It just pulled it in. Down, down, down. Now, I'm not sure if you could, this is going to be very, very hard to see, but right in the middle is a number. You use that number to index where the shifter is. This is actually very important because this is what sets Archer up. Before I go any further, look, Archer's not paying me for anything. It's a good design. I like it. I've worked with Archer and Devin since they first came out with it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we-
man.
friend,
You bought
it's
that
cool.
shifter that you're installing right now.
I
mean,
did.
You bought that.
It's no BS. Okay, the only thing he gave me is the really freaking old demo prototype one that some other guy has a better version of. So, other than that, I paid for this. Devin only sent me the shifter and said, "You want to try this out?" I said, "Dude, I don't want to take it off my other bike. I'll buy another one to put it on this bike." So, when I say these next couple statements, there's no kickback or anything. This is just the differences between the two because you want to know what they are. This is a massive difference because if you take a look at these gears on here again, you'll count out 9. Now, if you have a full SRAM system and you just want to stick with that and it's easy, okay, fine. Drop your 300 or 400. I think it's actually that's what it's almost like $600 for that AXS system. All you would do is take the derailleur off, stick the other one on, pull the housing off, and stick the remote on. You wouldn't even set up anything. There is some benefit to that. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you have to use their system, and it's very, very minimal adjustment on what you can do. Clearly, I don't even have anything on this bike that has to do with SRAM. So I, during the setup, told the system I have 9 gears. That's why you see 9 there. The indexing is where you set each one. I have a video on how to set up a derailleur, and if you watch that video, you'll learn that once you set the lower limit screw, all the rest of the changing is done by the shifter up here, and it's indexed. You have no control over what's between the high gear and the low gear. The shifter controls that. You can tweak with the barrel a little bit, but you have no control. With Archer, you have control of every single freaking gear. You can put the chain anywhere you want for every single gear. You can even, this is what I'm going to play around with later on, for training purposes, if I want, I can make this an 8-speed. And I can lock out that top low gear if I just want to not have it. And, just, I'm going to make it go away. I want to just get stronger and not use it. You can't do that with the other system. There's the plug, but not just the plug. There's one of the big differences. You've asked me what they are. That's a huge freaking difference. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to attach the cable. Now that I know I'm in the lowest, the highest gear here, and then we'll start doing some practice shifting. Okay, so I got the wrong Allen key. Should I pull up my pants so I don't get any surprise? Actually, I got lucky. The other camera's right there covering my.
There you go.
Right, that worked out well. Yeah, baby. Right, thumbnail.
Gene, I don't want to pile on SRAM because honestly, if they hadn't come out with Axis, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. Axis validated the idea of electronics on bikes for a lot of people.
Yes.
And that allowed the industry to move in that direction. So we're thankful for what they do. But just to kind of highlight a little bit more of the difference, with the Axis system, you do have some fine tunability. There are 30 steps that you can tune in or out. However, it's like a digital barrel adjuster. So the entire carriage moves in or out by those small steps. Our system is unique in that you can tune each gear as you need on the fly. So if one of those gears gets worn and it's not working the way you want it to, like you said, you can just jump right over it, or you can try and fine tune that shift point to get it to still shift acceptably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's still so many bikes that are not boost space compatible and ready for a 12-speed cassette. And so let's talk about all those bikes, because those are still really fun bikes to ride. So
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, by all means, folks, if you've got the AXS, it's not like you're going to close this video or maybe you already tuned out and said, Gene's such an ass. He's pissing all over my freaking... That's not the case.
no.
If I didn't have access to this shifting system, I couldn't have electric shifting on this bike unless I changed my entire drivetrain. That's just the truth, okay? There's no sugarcoating that. That's just the truth, okay? So no one's picking on anybody, but here's the other big one. You want another selling point? I'm going to give you another one. This is not an Archer derailleur. You go over there and beat the hell out of this thing and break it, you broke whatever level derailleur you have on it. Could be a $50 derailleur, could be a $300 derailleur. That's up to you. When you break the AXS derailleur, that's basically the heart and soul of the whole system. Okay? So, again, things to think about. But it is pretty streamlined, right? I mean, it's only one system. You don't have this. There's no cable. There's some bling factor to that as well. All right, now, like I said before, I did a little pre-work ahead of time. Since I have a 9-speed, the same setup on my pumpkin bike, I actually went and wrote down, where is it? Oh, it's in here someplace.
Gene, that's so sneaky. I can't believe you just took all of the shift points from your other bike.
That's exactly what I did. Oh, I can't believe I can't find. I actually had it set to show you. Damn it.
You are
anyway,
such a nerd. I love it.
I'm such a freaking nerd. I went over to my, it's not on this piece of paper, so don't worry about it. But what I did was I wrote down the shift points of every single one and preset it into this, so I already knew it was going to be pretty good. So on the video, I'd be like, you could put the glasses on and go, the cool thing where they go, like a gangster. So anyway, what am I doing right now? I'm going to shift up and down, okay? And then I'm going to use this little guy in here to tweak it to make it feel all nicey nice like. So here we are. Okay, can you guys see the shifting in here? Make sure the camera's close enough so you can see.
Yeah, get it down there.
Sweet goodness in here. Can you? Is that good, Devin?
That looks good. That looks good. Yeah.
Don't worry about don't worry about the camera. This is the phone. Okay, so now I'm going to go up a gear. Okay, I'm going to go up. Okay, so clearly that's not enough. Okay, so now I'm going to start moving it up. So what I'm doing is I'm adjusting this until it goes into that third. It bumped up into the third gear. 1, 2, 3. So now, just for sanity's sake, I like to go down again, go back up. Okay, little tweak.
Yeah.
All right. Down, up. Plus, it's just fun to do.
It sounds so cool too. I mean, I'm sorry, but I love that sound.
Yeah, no, it's got like the whole RoboCop thing going over here. Okay. And I'm just going to continue to tweak this. Okay, that one's feeling good. Okay. 1 second, let me go and get this cable housing out of the way so we don't have to listen to that.
Trim that, baby.
Yeah, I'll just bring it back a little bit. So we got a little bit of space there. Okay. And this is what you do with your install. You'd be doing the same thing. Okay, there's nothing special about what I'm doing or different. This is the process. Okay. Let's go up another one. Another one. Another one. Okay. Down. Down. I don't really need to tell you. Going down.
You know what's crazy to me about all this is it's totally demystified what a derailleur is to me. I mean, like, I've messed around with derailleurs and shifting since I was 9. You know, like, and I never really understood what any of those stupid screws on the back of the derailleur were. And like you said, when you install a manual shifter, you realize that all of the brains are up in the shifter and the derailleur is just kind of dumb. So this whole process of like using an app to fix this has made it so much more intuitive. And now I understand so much more about derailleurs themselves.
Yeah.
And kind of just what they do and how they work. And as a bike rider, just, not as Archer guy, like as a bike rider, I just find that to be so liberating to be like, oh, this whole shifting thing isn't just for bike mechanics. Like bike mechanics, that's for brakes, man, because brakes are fucking mystifying to me.
Yeah, you don't want to mess them up. Yeah. So here, real quick, I want to knock off a couple of these questions over here, Devin. So these are actually all quite important over here. 1 second, let me go over here and go up a little bit. Dude, not wearing a thing, right? Yo, Ito, it's like the same thing. Okay. There was thanks Sean for the plumber's crack. Woot woot woot. By the way, okay, like the zoom in, can't very helpful. I can tell you were high and I ain't no. Okay. Here's one. I actually asked you this one, Devin, when we first started working together on this whole thing. Ito asks, can you hack into the derailleur? I know you can't. Why don't you explain to them the encryption process and what you do?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, totally. So once the remote and the shifter are uniquely paired, there's really no way to get into that communication link. It's an encrypted bonded Bluetooth low energy connection. So once they're talking, you can't jump in. Like if your buddy had a phone, he wouldn't be able to like interrupt that conversation. The only way to actually break that conversation between the remote and the shifter is by turning the whole damn thing off, removing the remote from the picture, and just firing up the shifter. So yes, if you had physical access to someone's bike, you would be able to get in there and mess with their shift points. But if you had physical access to their bike, you could do a whole bunch of other stuff too. So
that's good too.
Back when the Levos and Canevos from Specialized first came out, I don't know if you guys have heard any of these stories, but like they're apparently they had left that communication link between the e-bike and the app open. So when those e-bikes first hit the ground and people were kind of a little bit not so happy with e-bikes on the trails, people would just be riding next to an e-biker, fire up the Specialized app, and you could turn the power off of the e-bike. You could set the level of the pedal assist to 0. You could basically mess with them while they rode, which is, I don't know, just the funniest thing to think about doing. But the good thing is on the Archer system, you can't do that. So it's an encrypted bonded connection between the shifter and the remote that you really have to physically access to break into.
Let me go run a couple other questions by you, Mr. Smartass. That would be funny. How many speeds? So what's the limits, Devin, on the upper and lower limits on how many gears you can put into the system?
So if you want, I will sell you one of these things and you can put it on your single speed cruiser. It's totally fine with me. That's fine.
What a gentleman.
No, the upper limit though in the app it's really just a software thing, is 20. But you can put any number of shift points in there. And 20 was an arbitrary number. We just kind of threw it in there as like it's got to stop somewhere.
The only thing I will add to that, Jack, you asked this question. There's also a physical throw on how much the actuator inside here is. There's a worm gear that moves.
Right,
so
it's 47 millimeters of linear travel.
There you go. So if for some reason they do some crazy ass like pizza pie big stack thing that extends past that, what did you say? 40 what?
47 millimeters.
If it's wider than 47 millimeters, then you wouldn't be able to physically get to the upper and lower limits.
So we use about 80% of that available space for a 12-speed cassette. It's enough cable throw or cable pull rather to handle any rear derailleur that we've ever seen. The Alpine 7-speed internal gear hub, but not the Alpine 11-speed internal gear hub. That's the one thing that we know for sure we're not compatible with.
All right. Question over here. Can you just upgrade my button shifter with the new paddle shifter?
Yes.
Yes. Can you do that?
Definitely. Yeah, it's all fully backwards compatible. So as soon as the paddle is available, that'll be out there as just a standalone unit.
Okay, save. I'm going to do a quick little plug for me in there and bring up the RGMTB code again. You could also use that code with anything you buy at Archer. All right, so
yeah, baby.
Do a little love for me over here, folks. Okay, so what have we done? Well, we've actually done a hell of a lot. I've tuned this thing all with the app. It's working sweet. Okay. I cut the little cable end off. I made that look all pretty. So inside of the app over here, if I'm going to click on done. Can you see the word done? I'm going to click on done because I'm done. And I'm now going to go and click on the little gear up on top over here. And
that's the settings menu. Yeah,
that's the settings menu. And then you can click on pair remote. I'm not going to because I already paired it. Okay. So I'm going to I'll click on pair remote. Devin, can I click on pair anyway? Will it make a difference?
Well, yeah. So what pair remote does is it sets a flag in the firmware,
Mhm.
and it tells the shifter that next time you turn on, you're going to clear out your name. You're gonna blank out what your name is. So the shifter has no name. It's going to come up with a name that's called D1X pairing.
Mhm.
And then the remote, when you turn the remote on, it is going to search out any shifter that is saying D1X pairing. And it's going to grab hold of that one, and they're going to exchange unique identifiers.
Gotcha.
So the shifter is going to learn the unique identifier of the remote, and then it's going to change its name to be that of the unique identifier of the remote. Now, it's important because then when you turn on your shifter and you turn on your remote, they're only going to find each other.
Gotcha.
Because they're going to look at their name and they say, look in memory, hey, this is my name, this is my remote, I'm only going to know this one. And so the two of them get to like glom onto each other and have that encrypted bonded connection. So you could hit pair remote if you wanted, but
Right.
really it's a one-time process that you only have to do one time when you first get your setup.
So then what I could do then is just hold the little button in, right, and turn it off, and then
Right
turn
now?
it back on again, right?
What are you trying to do?
I want to unpair it from my phone and pair it to the controller.
Okay,
Right
on
yeah.
the home screen, there's that big black button that says disconnect and ride.
Got it. That's right. Right. Okay. Here you go, folks. Right. I'm sorry. Honestly, folks. Here. Okay. So why am I not really smooth with this right now? Let me explain. After you set it up, you very, very, very rarely ever have to go back to this because on both this one and the new one, there's a micro adjust button right here. When you go into micro adjust mode, when you click these buttons up and down or the paddle up and down, you can tweak and adjust the shifter. You don't ever have to go back into that phone and reset the gears if maybe your derailleur got bent a little bit or stuff is just getting real out there on the trails and you got to tune something a little bit. So it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. Well, yeah, I probably don't. But the fact is, once you set this up, you don't go into this really much again. You don't have to anyway. I mean, you just do it from here.
Yeah, the app is pretty dumb. It doesn't do a whole lot.
So I clicked on disconnect and ride. So this is one of the funny things. Whenever I'm at the trails, like I got to boot up my bike. But yeah, you got to boot up your bike. So I'm going to hold the button in. Oh, actually, now the button's already blinking red, so it's looking for something. Right. So now on my little paddle guy over here, I'm going to click the little button back here and turn it on. Okay, it is green, and this is just turned on. This is green now, and everything's working. So now watch when I go like this. Can you see both, Devin?
Yeah.
I'm now shifting the bike. Watch this. Behind my back. All right. Not bad, huh? Okay. And now I'm shifting with the paddle remote from here. Okay. Like I said, I can go into micro adjust mode, and it would tweak this. I will take a look and see what I have a longer bolt, but the thing is right now, this goes in here like this, okay? And the bolt I have just isn't reaching all the way down. It's not a big deal. Remember, again, I'll make it clear to everybody, this one is a prototype, okay? No big deal. So the bolt's just not reaching. It's not a problem. And I would mount this up here on the handlebars. So now at this point, when you're feeling comfortable and you like how everything's working, by all means, rip out your cables, okay, the cable housing, and take it and go from there. But as I mentioned earlier, for some of the folks that maybe have come in a little bit later, I don't recommend you ripping out your cable housing on your internal routing bike until you have at least everything working and you're satisfied with where you're at, right? Just to make sure everything's safe. But that is a proper install. But I want to kind of cover just like actually one more thing here real quick that I can think of. The original system came with these black batteries, okay? And this little black cap went back here, okay? The cap is here, the batteries are in here. These are rechargeable. They're lithium-ion batteries. They're the size of AA's, but they're not AA's. You cannot use AA's in here. Also, very important, these go in a certain direction, only that direction. Never put them into the system backwards, okay? Doesn't mean you're going to sit backwards.
Gene, don't worry. There are protections. This was you're gun shy.
Wow.
Gun shy.
All right. Good.
That was
good.
4 years ago, man. Things have changed.
All right, man. All right. Boy, we're gonna have to talk more. All right. So anyway, then okay, stick them up. All right. Anyway.
Hey, no, but Gene. It's a good point. It was a funny story. I mean, it's kind of funny. We had a diode that would protect the circuit against reverse polarity. And it was there, and it was, it did its job. It was a diode. It would protect the electrons from blowing things out. What we didn't realize was that on the motor control circuit, that diode got bypassed on the first version of this. And so,
gotcha.
This is, Jesus, what was this, 2017, 18? And we're building these in my living room, like just beta hacking ourselves to viability. We send them out, and the very first one of the very first units that goes out to a guy just here in California, and he's like, hey man, I don't know, something's kind of weird. Like I put the batteries in backwards one time, and then I like put them in right because I didn't know. And then I just remember that day so vividly, taking a housing, sitting here in my kitchen, and putting the batteries in backwards and closing the door and watching the motor control circuit just like explode. I'm like, oh, fuck, what have we done?
Yeah. Oops. Way to go, Mr. Wizard. There you go.
That is no longer a vulnerability.
Right, I mean, because look, not for nothing, but some of the stickers, it said freaking caution on the bottom of the box, Devin. Okay, so it's not like I'm not like smoking, any kind of, the wacky god grass over here. All right, so anyway. But they still have to go in a certain direction, or it's still not going to work. So
Gene, now that you put me back on camera, I do want to plug it. I mean, I've got
there you go. Awesome. Yes. Thank you very much. See that? There we go. I try to be nice to as many people as I can.
It makes the whiskey taste so much better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Trust me. Hang out with Ito on some of our rides. That man's got the spirits. Oh my gosh. Anyway, where I was going with this whole battery thing was the folks at Archer came up with the idea of if they added just a little bit more. Actually, I'm sorry, you can't see that. I just realized that. I apologize. What do I?
You can delete me. I don't need to see myself.
Okay, so good. Let me get Devin off the screen now. If we take a look at this over here, these are 3 batteries rather than 2. All right, same amount of juice, but an extra battery. And since they're smaller, they'll fit in the same system. It's what do you call it? Your speed? What's the package name? You have it called something.
Sprint Power.
Sprint Power, right. There was a guy on Facebook that got back to me, said he just ordered the Sprint Power setup. We've been messing each other because he wanted to be on this thing tonight. And he's like, I love this thing. It's so much faster than it was before. I have a video of that on YouTube if you want to actually see a speed comparison. It is faster. Personally, I never really felt it was slow. I'm not really in that big a rush. It got to the gear, but this actually does make it a little bit faster.
Oh yeah, man, it's 50% faster. Like
it was good. Watch the video.
You'll
see it. It looks good.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see here. Please go. Okay. After initial setup, how often have you used the micro adjust on the remote? Dads, to answer your question, it varies. Meaning, my mileage will vary compared to yours. I've used it very little. Okay, and I've gotten so good at it that just like with the barrel adjuster, I can ride the bike, click the button, tweak it, and click the button again, and actually keep going, which is good because I'm actually able to try out the setting while I'm riding the bike. You get really used to it real fast. No different than turning the barrel. But how often remember, there's a lot less cable here to stretch, so there's a benefit. Okay, so usually when you get a brand new bike, you have to adjust it depending on how often you ride because the cable stretches, things just kind of settle in. So if you're putting this on a brand new bike, maybe a little more than someone that has it on a bike that's been using it for a little while. So I would say that you're not doing it any more or less because of this system. It's just based on your system. I'm not giving you a solid answer. I'm battling, but it's the best I can do because there's nothing I can tell you on more or less,
And it depends on like how dirty or dry your chain is, or if you hit a rock or a tree or something,
Yeah. So that actually is, I'm actually going to bring you back on there again, Devin, because I'll put this over here like this. There we go. So that actually is the install that I wanted to do today. Did I leave anything out, Devin, that you want me to bring up? Everything's
good,
great.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that in the settings, there's a lot of stuff you can set up, like how many gears you can press and hold, and then get multiple gears. So you can set that up in the app. There's like there's
the take me home gear.
The take me home gear. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sure you've covered it. We've covered it. But I think basic setup, you nailed it. I do got to ask, though, what do you think about the red? Is the red good?
I like the red, but I'm going to ask for color options, right? I mean, well, look, I'm not going to lie to you. To take your freaking 3D printer and your Bowden tube out and start, because on my bikes, I have bought the colored lever for the dropper seat post. On my Nomad, it's red. On the Pumpkin bike, I think it's the orange one I have set on there. Pacific Northwest has different colored paddles. So does
They're
Wolf
so
Tooth.
cool. They're so cool. I know.
So I like the red. I think it's sweet, and it almost gives you that injector seat look.
Yeah. Emergency button.
I'm digging it, but I definitely. But see, there we go. See, thank you, Dads. Color option would be sick.
Yeah.
Definitely a viable. There you go. All right.
Well, what's cool is that it's actually just a final coat. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Cerakote before, but it's used a lot on firearms, handguns. But it's like a super durable final coat that gives a little texture, a little bit of grip to it.
Okay.
And the folks over at Streamline 3D in Fresno, they're like, yeah, we got a can of red, so we can make your paddles all red for this prototype run. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. But yeah, I think a couple different color options couldn't hurt, right?
I mean, let me ask you this while we're talking about it. I see on the one that I have over here, there's a bolt. I'm not going to bring the camera on. There's a bolt that takes the paddle off. Is that something? Is that a usable, changeable part, or is that like you don't really want people messing with that?
We're looking at, so right now this is just our no index paddle, right? So we're thinking that we've got a couple prototypes that have an extension that comes off this side. So you can when it's mounted, you can come around and trigger it with your index finger.
Gotcha.
So we might have two different options, right? The no index paddle and then the one that's got the little extended that comes off the side.
Something to think about. I mean, Ito brought up a good point. Share the STL file. I know I
totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, I 3D printed a safety part for my Wolf Tooth dropper seat post lever, and I actually have that up on Thingiverse to share with people. Yeah. I mean, that's something. But I mean, I get people saying, I know Steve's going to want it in orange. Other guy wants it in orange. Another guy wants it in lime green. So people already want it, so that's good. RGMTB.
Well, you want to make it the way you want it to fit on your hand, right? So like. Sure, why not share the step file, make it so that you can edit it and print out your own? And I don't really care.
It's cool.
And make sure the magnets. The trick is the magnets. You gotta have the north pointing north, and the south pointing south. Otherwise, no Saturday.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. Well, I mean, that'll be in another video, I guess. I mean, basically. Let's put it this way: it's nice to see that people are even asking, which shows interest. And here's, and I don't want to say I'll leave on this, but I want to bring up a final point over here. This is certainly for the folks that are really into their bikes. Any electric shifting are for the guys and gals that are just like gaga over bikes, right? The bike shifted just fine, but it wasn't as cool, and it doesn't hurt my finger as much. So so people that get this are sick over their bikes. They love their bikes, and those are the kind of folks, right? Yeah, we all got problems, but those are the kind of people that want it. to match their bike, right?
Yeah.
Ito, I'm picking on you, Ito, but his whole kit, the guy looks awesome. All his colors is match his bikes, at the top match the bottom. The guy looks, we're all like, he's the best looking guy here. So this is your audience. These are people that are going to want this to look good on their bike. I want one that has RGMTB on the little sticker. There you go, right?
You're talking.
All right. Any idea what the price? Okay. What are you going to be selling for the shifter?
For the whole kit, we're
Well, yeah. Well,
going to try
the whole kit. And what will this remote come out to later on if you want to upgrade the remote?
I don't know yet. We're still working on it. I'm sure you've heard of the supply chain madness that happens with computer chips, and since we are such small potatoes, we're kind of at the end of the tail as it gets wagged around. So we're still working on sourcing of all the components that we need for this, and so the final pricing hasn't really come clear. We're trying to keep it in that same range of that $399 ish area for the full kit, but it hasn't fully come clear yet.
I can tell you that if you use RGMTB when you check out, it'll be 11% cheaper than
it's 11% right there, baby.
Right there. All right. Yeah, I'm trying, guys. Remember, I don't bug you for Patreon. I don't really bug you for much of anything over here. All right. Look, I know I lost this weight because I got no food. I'm just a starving YouTuber. Poor me.
Gene.
All right.
Gene.
Good question over here. Dad's asked about, is there a left-hand model?
Yeah, actually, once the design is locked, we're just going to mirror it. And because the beauty of 3D printing and because of the way we've oriented the magnets and everything, the printed circuit board can be just flipped over. Exactly.
Oh, awesome.
So we already have versions of the left hand, but like previous iterations, like the old stuff that Gene has. And so we have, once the new stuff is locked in and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to run with, we will build a subset that'll be left-hand version. And
something else that's cool, again, I'm just trying to give you differences. It would take an act of God for me to get the SRAM project manager on a YouTube video for us to talk and give them advice on how do you want this thing to change. You can actually talk to this guy, right? His name's Devin, and you could actually talk to him. And for all you know, you'll send the guy an idea and your feature could end up in the thing because you're actually talking to him. If it's something that would be a lot, that's pretty useful. A lot of people would do that. So there's something to say. One of the reasons why I like working with Box so much, which I'm really trying to get you guys, is because I like
Box too, man.
I love
Toby's
working with Box. It's solid stuff, and they're a small company. I can talk to them. If I don't like something, trust me, they know. You know, if I do, I let them know as well. So it's nice to be able to work with these niche companies because they really care about how things are going. I mean, here I got the guy in his backyard hanging out here. He's getting rained on with his mother's hat on his head, and we're killing it. All right, let me see if you have any other questions, and we'll see what we're doing over here. Actually thought about taking it to the next level and is it possible dropper? Ooh, here we go, Ito. See, this is what I'm talking about. So Ito wants this thing with the dropper seat post somehow.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's something else to think about too. How do we start putting these things together? I mean,
So we recently just kind of got past a little bit of a hump in that. So with dropper seat posts, there's two different orientations of the cable. Right, you can have the barrel end at the dropper actuator, or you can have the barrel end at the lever, and it depends on the manufacturer. So some of them have them here, some of them have them there. So if we were going to create a universal scenario or a universal solution to this, we would have to figure out a way to mount in either direction. So someone, again, a customer, right? So they're asking about this, and we're like, well, here's our problem, and they're like, well, have you ever looked at? They've got crimpable. These are used in RC airplanes a bunch, but they're like little crimpable brass little ferrules. You can shove a cable in there, crimp it down, and then thread that into the drive nut. And so it kind of opened up our eyes. Like, oh, well, if we did it that way, then we could have a universal approach that could either accept a barrel end or a threaded end or loose end, and then you could run it to your dropper. And
that'd be cool, dude.
Then that's where like the left-hand version of this thing all of a sudden becomes a simpler version of this becomes your dropper on the left-hand side. And it's a smaller, because you're not shifting as much, or you're not dropping your seat posts as much as you're shifting. You've got a smaller actuator. You've got less throw, and we're with it.
I will add though, but I don't mean to be Mr. Downer here, but I do want to throw in that depending on where you're going to put that actuator, if it's going to be up on the bars, it doesn't help with the cable clutter.
Right.
One of the nice things about getting the wireless, so when you're thinking about your design or what you can do or whatever, one of the reasons why we like the electric shifter we want to get rid of the cables.
Right.
So this system, there's one less cable on the bars. It'd be great to get rid of another cable for the dropper seat post. So maybe you can mount. I don't know, just something to think about. But that'd be pretty cool. Hey,
it'd be rad to route it into one. If there was just one, and
that'd be
figure
awesome.
out a way to do both at the same time. But
plug to my buddy MTB Plumber for the super chat. Thanks so much, buddy. There we go. That just only means I have to buy him lunch next time we go out. Nice. So really, we're just trading the $5 back and forth. But thank you, my friend. I do have a question that I wanted to ask you. Sometimes these electric shifters will integrate into computers, like the Garmin's and the Wahoos. Is that something you guys are thinking about doing?
The trick with the Garmin and the Wahoo is that they're all using the ANT Plus protocol, instead of the Bluetooth Low Energy. So, prior to the chip shortage of 2020, whatever year this is, we were doing some prototyping with those ANT Plus modules, and we were looking at how we could integrate, and it was going great. And then now, you can't find those modules. You cannot find anything that's ANT Plus protocol enabled.
Yeah.
And at our scale, we just can't. We can't justify fabbing our own and using our own engineering resources to build our own chip. That would be
on a crate someplace in the ocean on a boat someplace waiting to come in. I got you. That's cool. But
I want it, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, and the reason why I think it'd be pretty cool is when you can start tracking the gears you're on, and you can track that with a GPS, you're actually tracking the gear you're on, where you're at, so you can start tracking your improvement to see if you're on a higher gear climbing that same hill, and start just getting some, for us stat nerd guys, it's kind of cool,
No, totally. And I feel like we could, if it would be a lower hanging fruit to integrate with Strava, and to somehow say, okay, let's loop this into Strava, because then all of a sudden leaderboards change, right? Oh, you did this in your 32 tooth, and I did it in my 28 tooth. So
that's a good point. You're just caching what we did on the phone and then using the Strava API to send it up. So that's something to think about.
Right.
What other questions did we have over there? We talked about the dropper. We talked about. I think we talked about just about anything. So, folks, I'm going to give you one last chance. If you want to run anything by Devin, go right ahead. While I start closing up shop, and if I see something pop up, I'll ask them. But in the interim of that, I want to thank everyone for joining. You guys are always awesome. Remember, the channel is only as good as my subscribers. No one really wants to look at me talk all that much. They really just want to talk to you guys, and when you put your comments in there, people answer the comments and talk back and forth. So the only reason why the channel's even been successful at all is because I've got just some of the best folks that follow it. So I just sincerely thank you so much. And because of you guys, I mean, look, Devin's a nice guy, but if I had 3 subscribers, he probably wouldn't be sitting out in the rain with a little cute hat on my stream. So you guys help legitimize the channel, and it allows me to do these types of things. So I want to make sure before I even thank Devin, I thank you guys first. Thank you very much for supporting me in the channel. And now I do want to send it over to Devin. Devin, I've always been a fan. I really like this kit, but I think that the paddle, this is it's not like the buttons weren't working, but the buttons were different. This is what we've been using for years. I just think you guys hit it out of the park with this thing. Awesome. This is going to make a big difference for you. I don't think there'll be less objection to move into it, because they'll be like, well, I'm kind of using something like this already. I just think it's going to help.
And it looks a little bit more what you're used to. So yeah, absolutely. Well, Gene, thank you for sending this out. Because we're small, we're still trying to get as many folks to understand who we are and what we do. So the more times we get a chance to talk about it, I mean, we'll take them.
Cool.
I do really like those. Sincerely, I sent you this paddle because I want you to ride the fucking hell out of it. So tell me what works. Tell me what doesn't work. Break it. do whatever the hell you can to it. And I want, oh yeah, I know. Man, it's 2.
I only got a little bitty
2
screw. I only
2
got a little
millimeters.
bitty screw, Devin. I need a big screw. Where is this live stream going, right? We got to stop right away. Or I got to have to check off that checkbox, explicit, not for children, can't watch, right?
Not for kids.
Not for kids. So, folks, yeah, I will find, I had another bolt. I'll have it on there. So, yeah, and like with all the things I have on my bikes, stop me in the middle of the trail, check it out. I'm always happy to let you guys try the bikes and try the gear. That's part of the deal, and I'll be happy to. And no, this will be on the bike tonight. And we're actually getting some pretty crappy weather right now, so hopefully I'll be out soon, but I'll definitely be riding soon. All right, folks. That's going to wrap everything up. All right. Thank you all so much for joining. Again, all you guys rock. Keep the party in the pedals. Devin, you guys are killing it at Archer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a happy new year, right? We're right around the corner. Happy new year to you all.
Are you going to do a polar bear plunge or what?
No way.
You're in New Jersey. That's where they came from. Do it.
No.
Yes.
No. I bet.
Naked, too.
Naked. Yeah. All right. I talked about the little shrinkage. All right. We're going to go now. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. All right.